Alright, so this is this is Midnight Children. There is a special thing that the creator did with this particular patch, which really sparked my interest back when I made the song Patience. And it goes something like this. And so it's interesting because I've been trying to figure out how to do this in another program called OpenMPT. Now, OpenMPT is a tracker program that it's really basic, and it only has it has very limited amount of tools that you can use to manipulate your instruments. And yeah, so you have 3 envelopes, one for volume, one for pitch, and one for panning. But the thing is, you can either do pitch or filter. You can't do both at the same time. I don't know why. That's not important. The thing is, though, I tried to recreate Midnight Children in like an 8-bit instrument on my own without having any access to Massive at all at the time. And I don't know why. I couldn't get it right. It didn't sound right. So now today I've just sat down with Massive and taken a look at what is going on in this patch. And after watching a few YouTube videos on how to use Massive, I still couldn't get my answer until I completely destroyed the patch. I mean, I didn't save it. I didn't save over, but I just moved all these things around, changed everything. I was like, oh my god, I can't get this. And then I noticed these over here. I'm like, ooh, what do these do? Then I start playing with them. I'm like, oh yay, found it. So what these do, as you can see, what it sort of did, if you heard it, I changed this and it made the pitch change. Didn't sound like it did before, did it? That's what it's supposed to sound like. It's supposed to go up and up a full octave. So this is actually at 7. Turn on the grid here. This is actually at 7. This is at 12. And since this is up at 12, this is 1 octave higher. Now on here, this is just the way the grid works. It goes all the way up to 12 ticks. But you can have this higher than 12. You can go up to 64. Why you would want to do that, I have no clue, but you can. But the way that works is you drag this over here, and it's already there, so I can't drag it again. But you just take this and you drag it over to one of these oscillators here, and the step editor is able to manipulate the oscillator here and the pitch section right over here. And with this, you set the max on the step editor with this here. So if I set it to 1, I wonder what that does. That doesn't do anything. I mean, it does something, but it doesn't have that dramatic of an effect. So this is actually up 7 semitones in between the 1 note up that this is at. So let's turn that back to 12. So this same note, up 7, up 12. And you can actually see here that if I change the amp right here, it's all just completely ignores these. And as I increase the amp for the step editor, it goes up semitones up until the max setting where they're whole notes. These are all semitones. Whole tones. Now, I'm not an expert here. This is just all the stuff that I've figured out. And see, the thing is, with OpenMPT, you can't do any of this. Oh, like I said before, OpenMPT does not have a step editor. So this is incredibly difficult. Something like this would be incredibly difficult to do on a normal envelope that looks like this. I mean, it doesn't have this limited amount of stuff that you can do with it, like in Massive, because these are like generic envelopes. But in OpenMPT, you can manipulate it however you want. You can have hundreds of little tiny dots, and that's kind of the way the instrument envelope works. So next time I go on MPT, up 7, up 12. 00712. That's how that works. And it should, when I make that in OpenMPT, it should sound like this. Now this is just a crude version of Midnight Children that I created. I didn't play around with any of the filters or any effects or anything. I just did the bare bones pitch changing effect, or no, whatever you call it. I just did the bare bones pitch change, and I added 2 oscillators here, moved the step editor to control both of these oscillators. I have a sine square, which is set to square, and sine triangle is set to triangle. So I got a triangle and a square overlapping each other. Actually, I'll bring square down because it's kind of hard to hear the triangle. And again, same thing, just the amp. It's all the same thing. So I just got to be able to do something like that in OpenMPT.